Hey, hi, how you doing? It's Joe. It's week 23, and this week, seeing as it's Christmas week, we're talking about the festive season and also sort of religion in general. So, I made notes again this week to try and be a bit quick maybe. I'm gonna keep an eye on the time, try to be fast, and I'm playing my Christmas playlist for your listening pleasure. Okay. So, I love Christmas. This is an unpopular opinion, I think, these days, but I love Christmas so much. Not even really, I've realised in recent years that it's not even really the day itself. It's, by the way, I have like a cold at the moment, so if you're being super alarmed by how growly I am, it is partly to do with the cold. It's not just that I'm just, even more droppy than I have been. Anyway, yeah, so I've realised in recent years it's not even, like, just the day itself, it's more sort of, like, the lead up to Christmas and, like, the Christmassy feeling and, like, everyone getting excited for something silly together. I really like it. I like eggnog, vegan eggnog now. I like the smell of cloves and oranges hung up, and I don't know, we're the kind of family who did, like, rings of popcorn on string to put around the tree, and we always, less so these years recent years because we all sort of moved out of home and stuff, but we used to like go every year and pick a tree together and cut it down and stuff, and it was just like a really big deal. And yeah, and especially because my little brother is still small, like he's only 10, and I think he still believes in Santa. Like, we did this whole big deal last year because we knew he was starting to stop and like not believe anymore, and we kind of like did this whole like, oh my god, like we really convinced him, and he was totally convinced, but I don't know if it's stuck, we'll see. Anyway, so it's kind of still a big deal here. I just really like it. I love Christmas music, I love winter in general, I love Christmas lights, yeah. And just while we're on the topic of Christmas music, my 3 Christmas albums that I just almost fell over, I'm rocking so much, what's wrong with me? Christmas albums that I heartily recommend: Dolly and Kenny, Once Upon a Christmas, it's Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, so good. The Beach Boys Christmas album, amazing, great, so much fun, I love it. And Barbara Streisand's Christmas album, which is weird of her because she's Jewish, but I mean, who cares? You can do a Christmas album if you're Jewish, why not? Anyway, they're my kind of 3 repeat Christmas albums that I love and like listen to all the time. So yeah, so that's my relation to Christmas in general. I really like Christmas. I just like the sort of atmosphere. I think it's cool and nice. Yeah. As for religion more widely, because we're going to maybe talk about that in this video if we feel like it, my family in this country, so my dad's side of the family, are Irish and very Catholic. They're Roman Catholic, and so I was raised Catholic. Went to like a convent school and went to various Catholic schools for most of my life, and went to church every Sunday and was christened and knew my first Holy Communion and stuff and all that. Did all the rosary and confession and all that Catholic shiz. And there are a lot of things that I really like about it, about Catholicism. I really like the sort of the ritual of it. I really love Latin. I studied Latin for 10 years and I really enjoy the Latin. I like Latin Mass. I used to go to Latin Mass with my granny sometimes, and I think that's really cool. It's like a really interesting like ritual. I really like all the sort of like beautiful architecture surrounding Catholicism and all of that. Unfortunately, I don't believe in a Christian idea of God, and it occurred to me quite reasonably early in my life that how I saw the world didn't really fit with the Christian belief system, the Catholic belief system specifically that I'd been raised with. I mean, this does relate to gender in a way, because something that bothered me about Catholicism was this huge imbalance in gender, that you're worshipping this solely male thing, and there's all this dodgy stuff in the Bible and dodgy stuff in Catholicism that I was taught about women, and I was like, this doesn't really make sense to me, I don't really like this. So quite early on I wasn't really too into that, and luckily I have, on my other side of the family, my mother's mother, my grandma, is kind of this wonderful, like, hippie goddess, cool lady, and she was able to introduce me to things, to like, you know, paganism, meditation and stuff, which was that kind of spirituality and faith is much more balanced, it's much more gender balanced, and it's much more sort of open, and I don't know, I'm absolutely not an atheist. I don't think I'd even call myself agnostic, because I do have spiritual faith of some form, but I don't know if I can really classify it exactly. But if I was going to, I'd still say, from those influences that I had from my grandma of like paganism and Wicca, I'd say that it's probably a bit less Wicca. I mean, when I was like a younger teenager, I was like proper into it, and like mega like candles and incense and crystals everywhere, and actually practicing and stuff. But whereas now I'm sort of, yeah, my beliefs match more closely that sort of pagan nature-based thing, but it's not like a set sort of absolute thing, it's just a bit more vague than that. Anyway, so yeah, so that's kind of my relation to religion. I mean, it became less of a problem for me as I got older anyway, because my parents got divorced when I was like 7-ish, 8, and so we weren't really welcome at church anymore, so that wasn't really in my life anymore, which is fine, which was good. It was nice that it was no longer sort of being pushed on me. And as I got older, as I said, I'm more able to sort of look back at the things that I do appreciate about it and things that I don't. So yeah, and as for my relation to like being trans and that religious context, obviously with my own beliefs it's not problematic to me, because I see things in a very sort of, I don't know, it's very vague and very gender balanced and very sort of like, la, nature, woo. And I see this as part of my nature and part of what's just, anyway, the natural diversity of humanness. So it's not really problematic for me in terms of my own vague spirituality. In terms of my family, to be honest, my Catholic family have been bizarrely wonderful, kick-ass for the most part about me being trans. Really supportive, especially like my aunts and uncles and my cousins have been really, really cool, and lovely and supportive, which is awesome. And I actually spoke to my granny like last week, and she was wonderful. She was like, "You're still my grandchild," and like gave me a hug, and I was like, "Oh my god, Granny, it's so cool." And I wish I could go get it, but my Christmas card that she gave me even had my name with an E on the end, like so Joe, like properly, as opposed to, because obviously before I was still went by Joe, but just with no E. And inside it was also, this is another big deal for her, it was also addressed to Joe and Stephanie, which is obviously Stephen's my beloved. So she's just really fucking cool. As for Granddad, Granddad is a bit more extreme in his views. He's the kind of person where it's okay if it's not addressed, basically. And I think that's going to be my tactic with him. I said to Granny I wasn't sure whether I should talk to him or not, and she was like, "Oh, just leave it. You know what he's like, you know." And I said, "Oh, you know, it's going to be fairly obvious soon enough that I'm on hormones. Like this time next year, I'll probably have like some facial hair." Wishful thinking. And she was like, "Oh, just make sure you have a shave before you come over." And I was like, "Okay, Granny, sure." But I mean, he is that sort of level of, he probably just won't address it and it'll be fine. And if I try and bring it up, that's when I'll have a problem. So, so that's my sort of relation to religion and transness, and my relation to Christmas. I hope you all have a wonderful festive season, whatever you celebrate. And yeah, religion can be really wonderful. It frustrates me when people judge an entire group of religious people based on the more extreme end of that. I have so many, like, a bizarre like number of very close friends who are Christian, and you would think that that would cause problems, and for the most part it really doesn't. For the most part it's something, some of those friendships are more precious to me because I realise that we are overcoming differences in how we see things, big differences in how we view the world, in order to have this friendship, and I think that can be really, really wonderful. Anyway, okay, stay cool, have a wonderful festive time. Have Merry Christmas if you're doing that. Happy Hanukkah even though it's over if you're doing that. And all kinds of all the other good things like solstice and Yule and yeah. Merry Christmas. Stay cool. Bye.